I think it comes from Chavez's, of course, ideology that the South can come up with solutions for the South. And he is also worried that the United States is after the Libyan oil, says they've gone mad because of the Libyan oil. It's driving them crazy. And he thinks that they're after the Libyan oil just like they were after the Iraqi oil. So it's very interesting. It'll be very interesting to see in the next few hours, next few days, which countries would be willing to go into this international peace commission initiated by President Chavez.
All right, we'll wait and see. Dima Khatib, thank you. Well, we're slowly getting an idea now of the scale of the humanitarian emergency that's in Libya. But the truth of the matter is that aid workers are still not able to get in and fighting is ongoing. So there's no accurate death toll, just estimates. The UN's humanitarian chief, Valerie Amos, has told AlJazeera of reports that between 600 and 2,000 people have already been killed in Tripoli. Italy said 5 days ago that estimates of 1,000 dead elsewhere are credible. And more than 100,000 people have fled into Egypt, Tunisia and Niger, and that's according to numbers by the United Nations. Well, the UN World Food Programme began shipping food supplies to countries that are bordering Libya. 80 tons of high-energy biscuits have just arrived in Tunisia, and the World Health Organization is also sending medical supplies to the Egyptian border with Libya. The UN says tens of thousands of people have been leaving the country because of the unrest that's happening. Andrea Lowry from Refugees International says that governments need help to deal with all the people streaming across the borders.
I mean, there is commitment from humanitarian organizations, and also what we have heard from the two governments, the Egyptian and the Tunisian government, to provide facilities, to set up centers that would be reached by those fleeing Libya, and basic material needs being met. When I talk about material needs, need access to water, clothing, food, shelter, and so on. These governments that have already said we are going to keep our borders open need to be helped by the international community, by the donor community. Of course, they don't have the capacity to mount these emergency response by themselves, but there are agencies like the High Commissioner for Refugees, International Non-Governmental Organization, the International Organization of Migration. They have tens of years of experience in setting up immediate centers and facilities to cater for these people.
Well, they filled Tahrir Square, urging him to go. Now, Egypt's top prosecutor says Hosni Mubarak isn't going anywhere. The former president has been banned from travel and his assets seized. We'll have all the details coming up. Also later, will the ripple effect reach Zimbabwe? Activists meeting to discuss protests in North Africa are promptly arrested in Harare. And signing up for a fight as rebels rally in Libya, we take a look at where the conflict could go next. The military option, that's next. That's coming up.
As the hot spell extends across the Gulf, we'll still make sure you feel refreshed.
Hello again. The flooding rains are still with us through many parts of South America. If we take a look at the satellite picture, it's a little jumpy, but you can make out this huge area of cloud here just in the southern parts of Brazil, and more wet weather all along this western coast here. Heavy downpours down into Lima. So we've got yet more wet weather to come then as we head through the next few days. There could be more in the way of localised flooding, yet more wet weather all the way from that western coast all the way down towards Rio. To the south of that, though, it's generally a lot drier, and it won't be quite as hot as it has been either. So Buenos Aires this time getting to around 27 degrees. Now, if we head towards Cape Town here, it's actually going to be a bit hotter than it has been. Looks like our temperature will be right up at a sticky 34 degrees as we head through Tuesday. Elsewhere, it's also going to be warm, but not that hot. 28 there in Durban. The showers there still stretching from Madagascar all the way across through Mozambique and across towards Angola. Some heavy ones at that. A little bit further north, and the wettest weather here seems to be through parts of Pakistan and across into Afghanistan as well. Heavy downpours and a lot of snow there as you head into the northern parts of India as well. We've just got the tail end of that here in Doha. A fresher day, I think, for us on Tuesday. The wind's quite brisk and from the north.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
On the next Rizkan Show, as social revolution sweeps through the Middle East, how marginalized has the US become and how will this affect its future role in the region? Rizkan at this time on Al Jazeera.
As protests, violence, and the call for political reform spreads across the Arab world, Al Jazeera's in-depth coverage of events on the ground brings you the news as it breaks. Ongoing coverage of the Libya uprising on Al Jazeera.
The top stories on Al Jazeera.
Qaeda, it is Qaeda, not my people. It is Qaeda. Qaeda, yes.
Libya's Muammar Gaddafi tells America's ABC network that Al-Qaeda is to blame for the unrest sweeping his country. Libya's Air Force has reportedly bombed an ammunition depot held by opposition forces in the city of Ajdabiya, and there are reports several people are dead in the capital Tripoli after forces loyal to Gaddafi opened fire on protesters. The European Union has approved wide-ranging sanctions on Libya, including an arms embargo, a visa ban, and a freeze on assets. Meanwhile, China and Russia have backed calls for the Libyan leader to face prosecution for crimes against humanity. Let's bring in Mark Perry. He's a military and foreign affairs analyst and joins us now live from Washington, D.C. Good to have you on Al Jazeera. Straight to the military options that we are hearing about. How likely is military intervention into Libya, Mr. Perry?
Well, I think we're a few steps away from it. We simply don't have the assets there right now, I think, to enforce a no-fly zone. We have the Enterprise in the Red Sea, an aircraft carrier, the Carl Vinson in the Arabian Sea, the George Bush, an aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean. But right now, there's no air assets to carry out this kind of operation. I think that we're a few steps away. There are other things that we can do before we enforce a no-fly zone.
Such as?
Well, we can provide intelligence to the revolutionaries in Libya. I'm sure that in a way this has probably already started. We could enforce a cordon sanitaire around the country. We could close off the borders. We can make quiet phone calls to those who are close to Gaddafi and the international community and tell them that this is a no-win situation. There's a lot more that this country can do with its allies that I think we're planning to do, and we'll see those emerge in the next few days.
So then what do you think was behind the U.S.'s move to deploy naval and Air Force units around the country?
Well, they're not there yet, and it's going to be a few days before they are there, and the United States is always careful about this. I think in the last instance, we might intervene, but this is a very slippery slope, and it would take international cooperation for us to get this done. We'd have to be sure that we have a chance of winning. We don't want to be caught in a situation where we're going to have to deploy troops on the ground. I think that under the current circumstances in the United States, most military officers would think that would be very unwise.
And looking at NATO, I mean, how dangerous do